Going on? Hey, name
Can
is
you
Rick.
hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you, brother.
All right. How you doing this morning?
Man, I'm doing pretty good, man. Ain't no sound in the back. Can you hear the TV in the back?
No, you good.
Okay, cool.
All right. So I don't want to waste no time because I know your time is precious. So I'm gonna. Well,
Appreciate you, brother.
yeah. So first of all, I just want to thank you for taking the time out today for doing this with me. I'm a small creator, so I just really appreciate you.
Hey, man, you got to start somewhere, man. I appreciate it, man. Glad I could help you out.
And thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. So I'm gonna just get straight into it. You know, Starting off with I guess like your upbringings in Romulus, Michigan, and stuff like that. Growing up, I said your uncle John Long was playing with the Pistons, and do you think that exposure with basketball helped influence your decision with becoming a basketball player at a young age? Do you think that exposure helped you?
I do. I can remember growing up in Romulus and going to see my Uncle John play down at the University of Detroit and the Detroit Pistons, where, in the summer guys would come back, whether it be in college or professional. And so I had an opportunity to play against the professional players at that level, whether it be Daryl Dawkins, Earl Curidan, Phil Hubbard, just to name a few. And I'm playing against those guys who are in the professional ranks at the age of 14, 15 years old. So it definitely played a role, and I knew I had a way to go if I wanted to play at that level.
Okay. So, starting off in Romulus, you're playing a high school team. When did you realize that the high school team was of like championship caliber?
Well, you know what? When we came up, everyone was pretty much from Romulus on that Romulus team. So we played together in little leagues and all that type of stuff. So as we started to grow, we just kind of felt like we were getting better and better. And I was very familiar with most of the guys that was on the team because we all grew up together, whether it was in little league, through junior high school. We went to probably separate junior highs where we played against each other, but a lot of us went to the same junior high. So we got an opportunity to really kind of gel together because we stuck together.
Okay, who do you think were I was looking at that 86 national team. Who do you think were some I guess unsung heroes at that time? Because I know you get majority of the spotlight being Mr. Ball, but
Yeah, well, you would have to look at the point guard, Steve Glenn. I think he ended up going to Austin P Division One. You had Billy Johnson, uh, who was another guard. You had Wanry Street, who was a forward on that team. Both of those players went to Bowling Green. So just a very solid, team overall. And like I say, I knew those guys very well, whether we were next door neighbors, we grew up together, whether we played out on the playground or whatever. I mean, we were just a solid group, and we always stuck together.
okay. Do you think, getting all this exposure, especially being considered one of like the best high school players in the nation at the time, do you think all that exposure, like with media, do you think we're level headed at the time, or do you think it kind of got to you?
Yeah, no, I think I was level headed. I think my high school coach Al Wilkerson did a good job at keeping things under control and making sure that I was taking care of business the way I did, and I owe him a lot. I really felt like he was a big influence on my life, whether off the court or on the court, and that was the exposure I got, and everyone knew that teams were trying to come and see me, but hey, it was an excellent opportunity to we win games. Then you can also be beneficial from those college coaches coming to see us play.
Okay. And I also went to Romulus High School. I graduated class of 2016. So I was a freshman when Romulus High School won the Class A title in 2013. Were you able to watch that team?
Actually, I went to that game. I went up to the Breslin and watched them play and win that championship. I was always a big follower of Romulus basketball, even after I moved on. I mean, how that community is a tight knit community, and everyone wants to come back to the high school ball games and see the team have success. So they've had a lot of success over the years, especially when Nate Oates was there. And, I love going back and watching those teams play.
Yeah, man, what do you think of Nate Oates and what he's doing in Alabama? So, because that was actually going to be my follow-up question.
Hey, man, I can't say enough about Nate. I mean, I'm proud of what he's accomplished. He had a goal. He was a consistent worker. And, his success is just paying off simply because of the work that he puts in. And, as we speak right now, I'm sure he's doing something basketball related because that's
Yep.
just how Coach Nate Oates is. And, we remain to still have a tight knit group relationship. when I see him on the road and in tournaments, we'll chat it up a little bit. And when he comes back in town, we'll chat it up a little bit because he's not necessarily from Romulus, but he understands that Romulus community, and he's a part of it.
Okay. Okay, so it comes, you got to choose which school you got to go to. Why did you choose University of Michigan? What were some of your other options on the plate?
Well, I thought it was a good fit. I think it was the University of Kentucky, Syracuse, took a visit to Ohio State, Kansas. So it was a lot of teams out there that had an opportunity to attend that university. But I just felt like the University of Michigan was really that fit. A lot of it was to do with the players that probably were there. Number one, Glenn Rice, who I played a lot with in AAU, travel teams and things like that. So once you get a familiarity with certain players and you kind of build a bond, then it kind of makes it a little easier. And, I got to give Coach Frieder, Coach Fisher, a lot of credit. They stayed after me. They made sure that they were at every basketball game. And they did a heck of a job at recruiting me. So it was kind of a no-brainer when it boiled down to that. It was kind of between Michigan and Kentucky, but I think Kentucky made a coaching change during my senior year, and that kind of made it a little bit easier just to go to the University of Michigan.
Okay, so University of Michigan wins the NCAA title 1989. Pistons win 1989. So I collect vintage Pistons clothing. That's like one of my hobbies that I do on the side. And there was like a shirt that mentions both of them winning in 1989. And they said it was basically like the basketball capital of the world. So how are you feeling like, you win the title, then a couple months later, the Pistons win the title. How did you feel about that?
Well, you know what? I seen that shirt one time, and I thought that was a heck of a shirt at that particular time. But, you don't realize what you've accomplished until after basketball is all said and done, and you can kind of reflect and look back on it. But, just to have those guys, the Pistons win it. And like I say, you're talking about some of the Pistons greats that I had not only an opportunity to play with later on in life, but also to play and pick up basketball, whether it been at St. Cecilia, whether it been at your local high school, whether it been at the University of Detroit. It was just constant pickup games. So you had a familiarity of what those guys were all about. I can remember us having open gyms at Chrysler Center, and those guys would come up in the summertime and play against us. And so we knew how much we had to get done, if you will, once we started matching up against those professional players, that we had a ways to go.
Okay. Let me see. So, and also like with your uncle John Long playing with the Pistons, and he gets traded, and then he comes back to Detroit and wins the chip. So, how did he feel, and how did you feel knowing that your uncle actually was considered an NBA champion?
Oh man, that was something special to me. Knowing the path that he took, going to the University of Detroit, which was considered a smaller school at that time, having the success he had. And I think everybody's goal eventually is to try to win a championship. I mean, that's what you're in this for, is to try to win championships. For him at the end of his career to be able to come back and win that, man, I felt like I was a part of it. So, I was happy for him. And I tell you what, it speaks volumes today about that championship team.
Yeah. So you get drafted originally to Denver, but then you get traded to Milwaukee. But you officially start playing for the New Jersey Nets, because I know you said you played overseas for a little bit as well. So what would you consider, people always say, what is your welcome to the league moment? Like, you think you got skill, but you absolutely get owned by somebody.
Probably when I was with the New Jersey Nets. No, I'm going to go further back than that. I'm saying was with the Denver Nuggets. And we played in Landover, Maryland against the Washington Bullets. And I had to be matched up against Bernard King. So that was kind of my wake-up moment at that particular time. Not saying I had to guard him all game, but I think he ended up with 54 or 55, but I got quite a few of those. So that was my wake-up moment to say, man, because I had an opportunity to see him, play down at Cobo and things like that during that series of the Pistons when he was averaging almost 40 or 50. But I tell you what, to witness that and be in it, and saying that I see why he was doing that. There's nothing I can do. So that was kind of a wake up moment for me as far as the NBA when I was with the Denver Nuggets playing the Washington Bullets in Landover, Maryland.
Okay. So then you eventually get traded to the Detroit Pistons. So what were like your first thoughts just actually seeing now that you're playing for your hometown team, what are like your first initial thoughts?
Well, I mean, it was a dream come true, to be honest with you, because I grew up in an era where you couldn't watch a whole lot of basketball games, and Detroit was one of those teams that you watched and you followed. So for me to have an opportunity to go back home and play in that environment, man, what a blessing, man. I tell you what, it was special. I was very familiar with, I guess, the people around the organization, so it was kind of a no-brainer when I came back, and it was a special time, and that's probably what I would call the highlight of my NBA career was playing for the Detroit Pistons.
Okay. And so let me see, I'm about to pull it up right now. So your career high game, 41 points. Do you have like any memories of like that particular game or like, having a 13 consecutive three-pointer games? Do you have like any memories of like of those games like where you have like your career best?
Not really. I mean, when you look back on it now, it's 30 years later, 40 years later, whatever it may be. You look back on it, then you can reflect and you can say, man, I really had it going then. But, when you're in the moment, you don't realize what you're accomplishing. You speak on the 13 consecutive three pointers. I had no idea during that time that I had 13 consecutive three pointers.
Yeah.
I think it was George Blaha and a few other people might have mentioned it when I got to 12, and I was like, I had no idea. So I think that that's when the pressure starts to mount up when you're saying, hey, you're one away from breaking this record or whatever. But during that moment, when you're in the moment like that, you don't pay attention to what stats is and what you're accomplishing at that particular time.
Okay. And and your cousin Grant Long, he gets drafted to the NBA not much after. So did you two actually like I guess look up to like your matchups and stuff like that? And how did those go?
Yeah, we did. Grant was a few years ahead of me, and I even had an opportunity to go see him play down in Atlanta. I went down. I was still in college at the time, but going down to see him play in Atlanta and spend some time with him, I mean, that was special because Grant and I spent a lot of time growing up playing basketball on the playgrounds of Romulus, and it was just a special moment, understanding where Grant came from. Grant wasn't the most skillful guy, if you will, during those particular times, but I tell you what, he was a workhorse. He continued to work, and he deserves everything he's getting right now.
Yeah. Let me see what's my next question. So having some of the best three-point shooting at the time, especially with you being like, small forward, power forward position, how do you think your game would translate to today, figuring like you're considered like a pioneer of like, like one of the first bigs being able to shoot the three?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it would definitely translate. I mean, everyone in NBA game today is trying to space the floor, and I think you've got a lot of people shooting three pointers that probably don't need to be, but that's what they do now. They just come down, and guys got to be able to shoot that open shot. So, like you said, being a pioneer of the game, I like when people approach me and say, "Hey, man, you were one of the original guys that started all of this," and I always say, "Yeah, I probably was, but not in pay. I probably was one of the originals, but I'm not getting any royalties or anything like that. So,
I got
but it's good to be
figure
talked
out.
about in those same sentences.
No, yeah, if I probably would have got drafted 20 years later, I probably would have been seeing, you know, the the trying to think of the word like oh my gosh, I can't even think of it. But yeah, you get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying.
Yep.
All right, all right. Let me see. So I know you had like a couple of nicknames while playing. I know some of them. Let me see. Pull them up. Uh, Three Mills, Sugar. How did these even come along, and what do you think of these nicknames?
Well, it originated George Blaha. I give him credit for the three meals. I mean, that's exactly where that came from. But the sugar mills came from a guy by the name of Ed Lover. I don't know if you know Ed Lover from New York City, New Jersey area. When me and Derek Coleman played for New Jersey Nets, we used to spend a lot of time with him. At that time, I think they had Yo MTV raps and things like that. He was one of those guys on that, so we used to spend a lot of time with him. And I think I had a particular game, and he came up to me and, we had all went out and he said, man, we're not calling you tea meals no more. We're starting to call you sugar meals because you looking sweet out there. And it kind of stuck at that particular time. So I definitely would give Ed Lover credit for the sugar meals because he was the originator of that name.
Okay. Going back to, your career, you've played with some great coaches, high school coach Al Wickerson, Ron Rothstein, Pat Riley, Doug Collins. What do you think are some of like the morals and the things that you've learned from each coach during your career?
Well, you know what? You learn something new from every coach, and a lot of it has to start with preparation. I think Don Chaney did a good job at saying about being professional and making sure you take care of yourself, and whether you go to Doug Collins, who held guys accountable on and off the court, accountable for this is your job, this is what you're supposed to do. So there was a lot of coaches I can look back on and just say little individual things, whether it be, like you said, Ron Rothstein, who came in just kind of trying to figure it all out, and we were all trying to figure it out together. Who all of these coaches I have great relationships with, and I love seeing them in passing because we always bring up some of those old type of memories. And every time I see them, I thank them for any type of knowledge they gave me towards the game.
Okay. And I don't know if you saw, like, I guess in the notification, but I guess not. But I know, like, I had like some photos and stuff like that from like a yearbook, from the high school yearbook. So I know there's like this one photo. Says like the most athletic. And
Okay. Yep.
I'm a sneakerhead, and I noticed that you was wearing a pair of '85 Chicago's and stuff like that. And so
you know what? I got those from. I think I went to. They used to have a Nike camp, and it was in Princeton, New Jersey.
Okay.
And it used to be every year. I think it was like maybe the top 100 players or whatever. I think it was the top 100 players. So you go there for a week. You go to class during the day. I think it was called AFB at that time, where you go to class during the day, and then in the evening you play basketball. And that was just kind of really getting us used to what the lifestyle was going to be about, college basketball, which I thought was an excellent opportunity to really understand what college basketball was like. So yeah, I'm not very familiar with the shoes, but I did see those. I'm not familiar with the Jordan 1s, 2s, 3s. I hear people say it all the time, but I couldn't put a name on them.
No, yeah, like those shoes right now, like even like a warm pair are probably going for like almost 10K. So
No way. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So if you still got them,
Hey
saying,
man, I'm telling you, they could be around, man. I have to really go back to some of my sources and dig those up. I can't remember throwing a whole lot of gym shoes away. So at some point in time, I might be able to dig something like that up.
okay. And I guess also continuing off of that, like, do you have like any memorabilia from like your high school, college, or NBA career, like like keepsakes and stuff like that?
I've got jerseys. I've got all my jerseys. I really haven't hung them up yet. I got all my jerseys. I've got signed basketballs, and we weren't into. I guess during that time, I wish I was, where you were swapping jerseys with players, and just to be able to have those and be able to put them up on your wall. I do have a Grant Hill signed jersey. He probably was the only one I have. Maybe him and Joe Dumars might be the only signed jersey that I have of those two players that I played against. But like you said, just I got a lot of photos that I look back on, and just really wish I had took it in a little bit more, where you could have had home video cameras and things of that nature, where you could look back on them. But there's a lot of people that have that stuff out there, and then when they present it to me and I see it, I'm kind of like, wow. I mean, I'm in awe.
No, yeah. So what would you say? I guess not playing value or anything. What do you think is considered, I guess, that means the most to you out of like all of that? What do you think would mean the most to you?
Probably the 1989 national championship. That probably means the most for me. Understanding the adversity we had to go through, and we all had to come together as young men. With your coach exiting right before the tournament, I don't think many people gave us much of a chance. But I think that's what you talk about: a group coming together and finding a way to do it. And I always tell players today, young college players, that builds a brotherhood, and it's a brotherhood for life. And all of those players on that team, I tell you what, I talk to him a couple times a year because that's just the brotherhood we have. And look forward to this year. We usually have a golf outing, and it'll be this year for the fight the ALS for Coach Steve Fisher's son Mark, and we'll do that probably in the middle of July. But I'm looking forward to that because you got a lot of former players that come back, not only just 1989, but you're talking about some of the legends, some of the former players, whether it be Phil Hubbard from the University of Michigan, Tim McCormick. I mean, you got a lot of players. Well, Leslie Rockymore, I can go on about former players that come back to fight for that disease of ALS, and it's all for a good cause. But just to have that brotherhood come back, it's a special time.
Okay. So where do you think like your championship pedigree or mentality stem from? You know, you win in high school, you win in college, and your uncle taking University of Detroit Mercy basically to the Sweet 16. Where do you think that championship pedigree mentality comes from?
Well, you just didn't really know any other way. I mean, you wanted to win. You were very competitive, and you might have to start like being on the playgrounds. That we used to have an era where you played, and if you lost in a game, you were subject not to get picked up, and you're subject not to even play again throughout the day. So you wanted to make sure you stayed on that basketball court because hey, there were guys along those sidelines that they had their teams and they're ready to come in, and you could be out almost close to an hour before you get back out here. So that mentality has always been make sure you win and you can stay out here.
Yep. Because I know, like, as soon as you mess up, somebody's right there to take your spot. So you always got to be on.
You got it.
Let me see. What's my next question? Let me see. So, what did you think of University of Michigan this year? I think it was either the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight they were able to go to. So, what do you think of University of Michigan this year? And
Well, I think they're in good hands, man. I was really proud of that group, not knowing what to expect, especially in the era that we are in right now, where players are moving and shuffling around. I didn't know what to expect. I don't think my expectations was extremely high because I just really didn't know. But as the season started to go and we started to gel a little bit, I'm like, this could actually work, man. And I tell you what, I'm a believer in Coach Dusty May and his staff. I mean, they do an excellent job. And I tell you what, they revived me, man. I tell you what, they got me going again. And people always ask me, this will be year 13 coming up. They said, well, you still like it? Does it get old? I tell you what, winning doesn't get old. And they kind of rejuvenated me and got me, got my blood boiling again. And I can't wait to next year.
oh, yeah, I was looking, once they got rid of, Coach Juwan and stuff like that. So I was kind of questionable at first. I mean, obviously, I guess the wins weren't accolading and stuff like that. And then, they got Coach Dusty and the season started to go on. At first I was questionable, but then once it started rolling, I'm like, okay, they might be on something. So
Yeah, you're right about that. But I tell you what, I thought that Coach Juwan Howard did an excellent job. He's a Michigan man through and through, and you can just see it. Even after the transition or whatever, he continuously comes back, continuously stay engaged in the program. He's a Michigan man first, and you got to love that. There was no animosity. He understood, hey, this is a business. Hey, you got to move on. He moved on, and that's just what it's all about.
okay. And I got one last question for you. So this is the last question. So
Okay.
playoffs start today. It's going to, the Detroit Pistons are finally in the playoffs, first time in almost 5 years. Pistons versus the Knicks. Who you got?
I got the Pistons, man. I've always been a big Pistons fan, and it won't change. And I tell you what, you can kind of feel the passion and the buzz going around the cities, especially when my telephone starts ringing about guys looking for tickets, and I'm telling them, hey, look, they've had tickets all year, and you had an opportunity to get tickets. Don't just start bandwagoning now because all of a sudden they start winning and season tickets go up. But I like the Pistons' chances, man. I really do, man. Anytime I get any downtime, I do make sure I tune into the Pistons to see what they're doing, and I love the direction that team is going in right now.
Oh yeah, I know one of my friends. He works in the ticket office, and he was literally saying it when the season started. Like, you better hop on the bandwagon now.
Yeah, you got that right. He told you right, then, because like you say, everyone wants to be a part of it right now because of the success that they had. But I can't wait to that game tonight. I think it's gonna be a fight, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yep. All right. So once again, I just want to thank you very much for taking the time out your day for doing this. I really appreciate you for it.
Yeah, no problem, man. I really appreciate it, man. I know we tried to get hooked up for some time, man, and we'll continue. If you need me again, let me know. And I'm glad we were able to get it done. I appreciate your patience, number one, because I think you started on this back in the winter time, trying to get me to come on this podcast, and I told you I'd do it. And hey, I'm a man of my word, so here I am, and we found a way to get it done. So look forward to seeing you, and go Eagles, man.
Yeah,
Romulus, man.
do you still remember the fight song? You know the fight song?
No, I don't. No, I don't. No, I don't.
Hey, the marching band. So I know like the back of my hand. So
Oh, okay, yeah, no, man. Mr. Henry was the band director then, man. He used to crank out some tunes. So I can't remember what the fight song was because I tell you what, he was playing top 40 then. So when he was cranking it out,
oh, yeah.
we were listening to it.
Yeah. So once again, thank you. I appreciate you for doing this. And yeah, hopefully you enjoy the rest of your day.
Well, thank you, man. You do the same, man. I'll see you around.
All right, yep, see you around. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.